Good morning, everybody. It is a little bit after 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. I'm hopeful that all of you are getting a relaxing Saturday experience. You have fun things planned with your family and your friends, or just relaxing by yourself. I hope that you enjoy this day. Take advantage of your day off, if you have your day off, and just take time to retune, to get better, to take care of yourself. Now, today, the plan was that I would upload a riff video, R-I-F-F video, meaning a video that's going to poke fun at some entity. I had a script written out, and I had all the assets I needed, most of the assets I needed to edit the video, and the idea was I'm going to do this for a couple hours, get it done, polished, and then upload. And as I was doing my errands and taking care of other stuff before I got to it, a subscriber of mine posted a question or a comment that I thought needed addressing sooner rather than later. And so the riff video, the comedy, hopefully you'll find it funny, comedy video has been postponed until maybe tomorrow or Monday at the latest. I simply don't have the time to do both this video and the comedy video today. So I picked the issue that I thought was of more relevance. And here's what it is. I'm going to read you the comment. The subscriber says the following, and I quote, I have seen a few reviews of the Sendy Now, and everyone tells a different story. Zeos made it sound like they had great detail. Someone else said they had stacks levels of detail in recessed mid-range. You, meaning me, you are portraying them as more musical headphones. Don't know what these things are. So this subscriber is stating in no uncertain terms, he's a little confused about all these various explanations of these headphones. What is actually going on? This is not a problem that is limited to this particular subscriber. It is a problem that every one of us faces every single day. Not just with headphones and amps and DACs, but with almost every product that is being sold to us. The problem is, and I think this is the fundamental problem, is that people, reviewers, manufacturers refuse to do scientific, unbiased testing and then make conclusions based upon that unbiased scientific testing. When you're talking about audio gear and audiophiles, most of the time you're going to get personal opinions, which are worth absolutely nothing. My personal opinion means nothing. Somebody else's personal opinion means nothing. The only thing that should be of any significance is whether we have some sort of test to back up our claims, our findings, our conclusions. If somebody comes to you and they say, this particular amplifier is the best ever, it's the best amplifier you can get for under $1,000, and they were like, oh my God, this guy said it's the best amplifier for under $1,000, you immediately go out there and you buy it, you've just put $1,000 at risk because you have no idea what that person actually meant. You have no idea what test they actually did. You have no idea what they actually mean by best. You don't know. What if it turns out that that individual, that reviewer, made the claim after listening to just one other amplifier, and it was the amplifier that their sister gave them for a birthday present 10 years ago, and it's a small pocket FIO E11 amplifier. I don't think it was made back then, but you get the idea. And they're trying to sell you $1,000 desktop amplifier, and they say it's the best amplifier, the best. Well, if you've only heard one other before that cost $100, and now you're testing, quote, testing, and you're talking about an amplifier that costs $1,000, yes, I think there's going to be a slight difference. Those types of details about your reviewer and the process and their experience is fundamental. It is important for you to judge their credibility and how they present their materials, their conclusions, whether you should believe them at all. Knowing things like that helps you determine the veracity of the claims being offered to you. And unfortunately, reviewers simply don't go down that road. They don't take the scientific method. And they mislead people over and over and over again. most of my videos end or begin with rants about this issue because I see it all the time. And I run into haphazard, half-assed, stupid, unintelligible, dumb reviewers who talk about things they have no idea what they're talking about. And it becomes irritating after a while. Because the more knowledgeable you become in that particular field, the more you realize the people around you are dumber than you ever thought before. Now, I'm not saying I know everything about audio. Far from it. I do not know everything about audio. There's the vast majority of things I likely do not know about audio, but I do know what I know. And I know it from my own personal testing, and I know it from the scientific method that I've tried to employ, as limited as it is. And I've shown you how it's done in real life. So I'm not hiding anything. But let's get back to the question. What does this mean? Well, you already have my opinion about the Sendy. I told you how it sounded to me. We did the sound test yesterday, and you have that impression. But let's go to the other individuals here. Let's start with whoever said that the Sendys have Stax level of detail and recessed mid-range. So this individual is comparing the Sendy Ava, which costs $600, a planar magnetic headphone, to Stax, which cost a couple of $1,000. And you don't even know which Stax they're talking about. Is it the 005, the 007, the 009? I think it's a 009, whatever it is. It goes several thousands of dollars. Those headphones, the Stax, are very expensive, hard to get, and they are in their own particular niche of headphones. You have dynamic, you have planar magnetic, and then you have Stax. So this person, whoever made the claim of Stax level detail, is saying that the $600, $500, $600 Sendy Ava is comparable to the several $1,000 Stax using completely different technology. Well, what technology is being used in the Stax? In a typical dynamic headphone, we'll use the dynamic headphone because it's the simplest. In a dynamic headphone, there is a diaphragm, usually plastic or some sort of resin or something like that, that is fairly light. And it's glued inside the housing. It doesn't matter what the housing is, whether it's wood, plastic, metal, asbestos, doesn't matter. It's glued in there. And then there's a coil, usually a copper coil, some other type of conducting material, that is wound inside, and it's wound around or behind the diaphragm. That's what carries the electric current. What happens is that the electric current is passed through and onto the diaphragm, making it vibrate because of the electric current. How the current operates inside the headphone, the ear pad itself, not the ear pad, but the ear cup itself. And the amount of power that you put in also contributes to how the diaphragm reacts. The stiffer the diaphragm, the more power it'll be required. The easier to move the diaphragm, the easier it'll be to move, but also you'll get kind of looser sound because it's so easy to move that diaphragm. There are a lot of other things that go into it, but here's the bottom line. In a dynamic headphone, there is direct contact made from the electric coil onto the diaphragm. The diaphragm is also making contact because of the glue or other adhesive material that they might use to the headphone material itself, the ear cup. So there's a lot of points of contact here. Electrostatic headphones, on the other hand, use static electricity, essentially, is what you can say. When you take a balloon, for example, and rub that balloon, blow it up, rub it over your head, and then you have static electricity. As you take that balloon away from you, slowly from the top of your head, your hair starts rising. There is no physical connection between your hair and the balloon anymore. There's just air. What is causing the hair to stand up? It is electromagnetism. The static electricity that is caused by rubbing the rubber or plastic material, whatever it is that they use now, on the top of your head causes the electrons to create electricity, not create electricity, but they cause the electrons to vibrate and then create this electric current that is invisibly going up to the balloon. That's where the staticness comes in. It's a very generic way of explaining it. That is the type of idea that's inside electrostatic headphone, meaning the membrane that's in there is extremely thin and it isn't actually touching anything. So there's no glue, there's no adhesive, there's no tape, there's nothing. It's being held in place through electromagnetism, through the static force. And so what happens is that when the current is pumped into the headphone, there's no physical contact. How does that affect the sound? Low distortion, no coloration of the music, of the sound, and of the current. It is as clean as you can possibly get with current technology. Okay? That is why electrostatic headphones require a dedicated power source for that headphone. It has to be married specifically for that headphone, because they are specifically tuned for the type of driver and frequency and electromagnetism and all that sort of stuff that goes into the science of making that particular headphone. You have to marry it. You can't just plug in an electrostatic headphone into, your Odyssey Deckard or your 789 or your Audio GD. You can't just do that. It will not work. Completely different ways of producing music. And electrostatic headphones produce the cleanest, the most precise, the most articulate sound you can get with current technology. That's generally speaking. Not all electrostatic headphones do that. Okay, so the Koss headphone that's being sold on Massdrop currently is a Koss electrostatic headphone. It's got significant problems. Hi-Fi Man's Jade 2 also has significant problems. All their headphones have significant problems. Stax seems to be the ubiquitous company that is generally well known in the audiophile community that tends to make consistently good versions of their electrostatic headphones. And those are the ones that people tend to get, which is why they're so expensive. Okay, so now that we have a kind of a basic understanding, very basic understanding, you cannot judge planar magnetic Sendy Ava to an electrostatic headphone. Those are incredibly different types of headphones. And anybody who says that the Sendy Ava has the same level of clarity and detail as electrostatic headphones either has not heard an electrostatic headphone or doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. Or, number 3, they have lost their ability to hear. The Sendy Ava in no way, shape, or form provides that type of detail. It never has, and it never will. You just can't do it. It's the same way as dynamic headphones sound different from planar magnetic headphones. Once you hear a planar magnetic headphone, you will know that that is a planar magnetic headphone, and it is hard to mistake planar for a dynamic headphone. Companies screw up planar magnetic headphones every once in a while, and the tuning goes off, and you're going, that sounds too much like a dynamic. That aside, a good planar magnetic headphone will never sound like a dynamic headphone, and vice versa. The frequency they reproduce in certain frequency ranges are simply incredibly different if you know what you're looking for. So the same applies to Stax, to electrostatic headphones. They are not the same as planars. They are not the same as dynamic. Anybody making the contrary claim needs to provide a scientific test. They need to demonstrate specifically where the differences are, if any, and where the similarities are, if any. Making bold claims like this reviewer has heard, or excuse me, like this subscriber has heard, is misleading and is scientifically inaccurate, because there's no controlled test for them to actually make that opinion. They may have heard an electrostatic headphone once or twice, and they have an idea of what it sounds like, and they put on the Sendy Ava and go, oh my God, it sounds just like an electrostatic headphone. You're out of your mind. Put on your electrostatic headphone, listen to it, immediately take that off and put on the Sendys and listen to it. Then tell me that it sounds the same, if it does. Do not rely on your own memory for that type of stuff. It has scientifically been proven over and over again that humans simply do not have the capacity to remember sound. we do not remember sound. We don't remember the details. We don't remember the frequency. Most of us don't even know the frequency. Audiophiles talk about frequency range, and they do these weird conversations where they talk about hertz and this hertz and that hertz. The vast majority of people have no idea what the hell that means. And I seriously doubt that most audiophiles know what the hell that means. We don't talk in hertz. We talk in general terms because that's how we communicate. We're not whales. We're not bats. Now let's talk about Zeos. Zeos said that they sound like they have great detail. They do have good detail. They have good detail. They don't have great detail. And when we do a test between the Sendai Ava and other headphones like the DT1990 or the HD700 or the Brainwaves Alara or the Grado GS1000E or the Hi-Fi Man Sundara or the Hi-Fi Man HE5 SE or the Focal Elex, I think we're going to find something probably different than what Zeos says. At least if Zeos said that these have as good detail as all the other headphones I just mentioned, and I don't remember him making that statement. I hope that kind of helps. You have to analyze every claim that's made based upon the information that the reviewer gives you. And if they don't give you sufficient information, my 2 cents, and this is just my personal opinion, if they don't give you sufficient information to, number one, judge their credibility, number two, judge the test that they performed, and number three, help you determine whether you would, in the similar circumstance, reach the same conclusion. If those 3 things are missing, you should not accept that individual's opinion. That's the way I run things. That's the way I think of it. I do not believe that reviewers should post 5 to 10 minute long reviews of headphones, quote, reviews of headphones, and make such blatantly inaccurate statements. And they're inaccurate until they're proven accurate. See, this is different from, say, proof beyond a reasonable doubt for whether somebody is guilty of a crime. That's at least how American jurisprudence works, and most Western jurisprudence works in a similar manner. That in America, at least, you have to be proven guilty beyond a standard of proof. You are presumed innocent. So, in the audiophile community, any claim that's made should be presumed to be false until it is in fact proven to be true. And why is that? Because it is so susceptible. The audiophile community is susceptible to outrageous claims. People can say whatever they want and be as vague and undetailed as imaginable. And they can walk away telling other people, well, this is what I heard. This is what my very trained ears heard. This is what my $10,000 amplifier helped me hear. And if only you had the experience that I have, and if only you had the right equipment that I have, then you would hear what I'm hearing. If only you could invest $800 in an audio cable, you would realize that the laws of physics are totally different inside that cable. I spent $1,000 on an audio cable, and my headphones are now phenomenal. Bullshit. Get the hell out of here, you whack job. Who the hell do you think you are making such outrageous claims? Einstein would not roll around in his grave for that type of idiotic commentary. He would just sit there and go, I'm sure evolution will take care of this very naturally. Those types of claims are dumb. They're stupid. It's one thing to be led into that type of acceptance. You are an average person. You hear all these, audiophiles saying, "Oh yeah, you need to get the cable. You need to get the cable. It increases the sound." And you go, "Well, okay. If that's what everybody's saying, then sure, I'll try to invest money in a more expensive cable. It'll give me better sound, I guess." That's not your fault. That's the audiophile's fault for making such outrageous claims. The only thing you could possibly be faulted for is maybe not doing enough research, assuming that there is something out there for you to find that's contradictory to what the audiophile is claiming. But ultimately, I don't blame the average individual. I blame the audiophile. And so in this type of circumstance, when people make these types of claims about headphones, show me the proof first. My natural inclination is to disbelieve what those audiophiles are saying and only begin to believe them once they start producing the evidence to back up their claims. Because it's my money we're talking about, right? It's not theirs. They didn't pay for that nonsense. They didn't pay for that product. They got it. Somebody sent it to them. One of their subscribers sent it to them. The company very likely sent it to them, or another reviewer passed it along. They have no real investment in this. So hopefully that kind of clarifies some of the things, and there's going to be confusion about a lot of stuff. And sometimes, I have to admit, sometimes it really does just come down to personal taste. My preference for detail might be different for somebody else's preference for detail. I might say, God, I wish there was more energy in the treble. I wish there was more peakiness in the treble. And another person might say, wow, this is more than enough for me. I can't handle any more energy. This is perfect detail. But that's a matter of personal taste. It's not a scientific thing. You really can't do a scientific test on that. It goes from person to person. And you can, in fact, say that a headphone has great detail, and another person can say this headphone has bad detail, and they both could be right because of their sound preference. The other thing that may contribute, but probably not to a greater extent, just to a lesser extent, is the equipment that individual has. So if the person listens to the song on the Sandy Ava off their iPhone 6, they're going to get a very different experience than if they used that headphone through a Shure Magni 3 or even an FX Audio DAC X6. And if you increase to a very clean, very good amp DAC like the JDS Labs Element, you're going to get a vastly different experience from the FX Audio. So to a degree, the source material, the actual amplification and the DAC does come into play at some point. And you have to be cognizant of that. And the reviewer should tell you very clearly the materials, the tools they use in order to test the headphone. Hopefully this has been of some help. If in doubt and you're confused, think twice. If in doubt, ask yourself the following questions. In my opinion, this is the questions that I ask myself and I invite you to consider. First question, when you are confused and you're getting contradictory information. First of all, based upon your knowledge and your own research that you have done, and you should have done some research, which of the reviewers that you've listened to tend to have more expertise about the matter? Then you have to define what expertise means. Not the most videos uploaded, not the most subscribers, not the most lengthy videos, but the individual has the most experience in listening to headphones, songs, things like that. So that would be one factor. So the credibility of the individual, you have to find how credible they are, and that only you can make that determination. Number two, the method by which they conducted the evaluation of the particular item, headphone, amp, DAC, whatever. You have to know the methodology. If the reviewer doesn't tell you the methodology, my preference personally would be to disregard what they say, because I don't know how they did it and I cannot recreate it. If I buy it, I want to be able to hear it. And if they don't tell you how they did it, that's a problem. Number three, they should explain to you in precise, articulate detail what they hear. Not general terms that they tell you in a 5-minute video. That is insufficient. that is an insult to my wallet. That is an insult to me as a consumer. To make me try to make me believe that a 5 to 10 minute video is sufficient to convince me to spend $500, $600, $700, $800 or more. It is not sufficient. Those factors, those questions would be the top ones I would have initially. There might be additional questions that come along as you answer these questions, as you look at the reviews, as you do your own research. And so supplement the questions I just named with your own. You have to be hyper vigilant, especially with audiophile gear and audiophile reviewers. You are the bottom line. The buck stops with you. You get to control it. And I invite you to use that power. You have it. You don't believe somebody because of all the issues that we talked about. Great, then disregard what they say, even if you really want to believe them. Your personal preference is to believe them. But if they don't answer the questions that you've posed, if your analysis says their conclusion simply isn't scientifically based, then you have to make a decision. Either the decision is I'm going to disregard the rules that I set out, the testing parameter for this reviewer, or I'm going to accept my testing parameter even though I really want to believe this person's conclusion, because that's what I personally want this headphone to sound like when I get it. Hopefully this has been of some help. I know this frankly got much longer than I wanted it to be. I thought it was going to be about 10 minutes, but here we are. Thank you so much for listening and watching. And if you have any questions about this, please let me know. There's only so much I can do with my testing parameters. I'm not an audio engineer. I don't have any background in physics and astrophysics, and I don't know what astrophysics has to do with headphones, but whatever. Look, actually, you know what? If audiophiles are talking about the space-time continuum being changed because the electrons move differently inside an audio cable, then I think astrophysics probably has something to do with it too. So do space aliens. If you have any particular questions about my testing parameters, let me know. I'm happy to share them if I haven't been clear enough so far. If you have a particular question about a video that you've seen, a reviewer that you've seen, and you want to know, hey, look, what am I missing? What are the questions that I should ask this reviewer, or what are the things I should be thinking about, the things that the reviewer has said, what things should jump out to me? Let me know. I'm happy to go and watch those videos and tell you my impression about the things that I think are probably missing, details that need to be present, information that is good or is bad, and I'll just give you that if that's helpful. It's always nice to have somebody else's opinion about a particular video that you may see. If that's helpful, I'm happy to do it. I hope you all have a wonderful Saturday, and that riff video, can't do it today, but that riff video will be uploaded hopefully tomorrow, latest by Monday. Have a wonderful weekend, and thank you so much. Once again, thank you so much for subscribing and watching and commenting. Have a wonderful Saturday.